Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 9th of August, now it's 11:30, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages for this moment. Second update will be a little bit late in the evening, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media. And by the way, from now on, I will try to make second updates for main channels also on YouTube and Rumble. And this way, hopefully, videos will be a little bit shorter than usual, about 25-30 minutes. So I guess everyone will be satisfied because I do see on daily basis, basically, in comment section, recommendations from many members of our community to make updates a little bit shorter. So that's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with the breaking news for this moment, which is that huge explosion did occur in Moscow region, in Sergeyev Posad, in the factory, in the optical and mechanical factory. This is reported just in previous few minutes. There are no informations about casualties and reasoning behind this emergency situation. So I don't want to speculate. During the day, we will probably receive some additional news from Russian officials, and of course I will share this additional information on my Telegram page and in the second update. Well, I would not be surprised if Russian officials will say that it was some sabotage action or maybe even drone strike. But anyway, let's wait what will be said by Russian officials. And next news is also breaking news for this morning, which is about yet another attempt from Kiev regime to strike Moscow with the drones. And the TASS news agency is reporting that according to a statement of Moscow's mayor Sergei Sobyanin, two Ukrainian drones approached Moscow this morning in early hours of the morning, and both drones were shot down by Russian air defense systems. And Sobyanin, mayor of Moscow, did not share any information about casualties or any significant damage on the ground, which may mean that there was no casualties, at least. And by the way, also TASS news agency is reporting that President of Russian Federation Putin did send to Russian State Duma, which is parliament, by the way, draft document about changes in Russian law, according to which Moscow will no longer will be obligated to inform Council of Europe whenever some emergency situation is declared in Russia, or even martial law. And if this document will be passed by Russian Duma, then Moscow will be obligated only to inform UN about these kind of decisions inside Russia. This information once again highlights how much damage was done to relationships between Russia and the European Union and member states of EU. Moscow no longer sees necessary to share with the EU information, basically, even when it comes to some emergency situations or a declaration of martial law. By the way, before I continue, let me share with you a quick summary of the situation on the front line, and I will start with, even though it's operational pause all along the front, there are some local level changes, and I will highlight some of them. So let's start with Kherson region, where Despite previous few failed attempts from Ukrainian side to cross Dnieper River in direction of Kazachi Lager, we had reports yesterday late afternoon and this morning also that eventually Ukrainian forces did manage to conduct successfully landing operation. They did cross Dnieper River, and at some point they even enter this settlement, Kazachi Lager. And for according to latest news, right now Ukrainian forces are controlling just outskirts of this settlement after Russian local scale counteroffensive did take place. There are some other reports that Ukrainian forces also conducted landing operation on the northern part of the Dnieper River from Kazachi Lager, and there were some reports that Ukrainian forces did conducted landing operations on some islands also in the Dnieper. And well, this recent quite significant activization from Ukrainian side when it comes to fights for these small islands in Dnieper and the Dnieper Delta, and also constant increase of these attempts to cross the Dnieper and establish some small bridgeheads on the left bank, for me definitely indicates that after all, my prediction, my long-time prediction, probably was correct, and Ukrainian side is preparing mass crossing of the Dnieper River, which may take place simultaneously with the second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive on this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia in Zaporozhye and Donetsk sectors of the front. If this second wave of counteroffensive will be authorized by Washington and London, or Zelensky and his associates. So quite significant activization in Kherson region from Ukrainian side, but overall it's still, at least for now, operational pause. But I believe Russian general staff is closely monitoring situation there, and I guess all the necessary steps will be made to make sure that Russian side are ready for any possible development, including attempt of mass crossing of the Dnieper River. But yet again, overall, it's still operational pause, mainly artillery duels between the sides and these local level skirmishes. When it comes to Zaporozhye and Donetsk sectors of the front, also operational pause. No, some extreme changes on the map of the battlefield. Main hot point in Zaporozhye sector is still Rabotino area, where Russian and Ukrainian forces are conducting local scale offensive and recon operations. According to some reports, Ukrainian forces at some point during the previous 24 to 48 hours even managed to enter outskirts of Rabotino, but then Russian side conducted counteroffensive and forced Ukrainian troops to retreat. And simultaneously, Russian forces conducted local scale offensive in the eastern side of Rabotino and regained control over some fields that previously was occupied by Ukrainian soldiers. And by the way, one more very significant in my understanding news. According to some reports, Russian Ka-52 helicopter was shot down by Ukrainian forces in Rabotino area. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first instance when, since the beginning of this Ukrainian counteroffensive, when Ukrainian soldiers did manage to shut down Russian helicopter gunship. And Ka-52s are menace for Ukrainian armored groups. They are extremely effective helicopter gunships, and I did share many times videos on my Telegram page with successful operations of Ka-52s. Name for this helicopter is Alligator. Probably everyone knows about it, but yet again, the fact itself that Russian side lost helicopter. And by the way, I did not see official confirmation of this news. This is this information based on reports of some independent sources. But if it's the case, then I guess Ukrainian side deployed medium or even long-range air defense systems in Orekhov sector. And if that's the case, then I guess Russian side will begin hunt for these air defense systems with the active use of Lancet drones in coming days. And maybe today or tomorrow we will see destruction of Ukrainian air defense systems in that area. When it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front, main hot point, of course, Vremovsky Ledge, where Ukrainian forces are still trying to dig in settlement Staromayorsk here to conduct offensive in direction of Urozhaine, but they are unable to do so, at least for this moment. And by the way, this morning I did share this video from Staromayorsk, where one group of Ukrainian soldiers were trying to move around settlement to improve their positions, and they were spotted by Russian scouts, and artillery fire was opened and that unit was neutralized. But yet again, if you take a look at this video, you can clearly see that settlement is in open field. Basically, it's open terrain. There's no much to hide, no much places to hide really, and that's why I believe Russian forces made decision to withdraw from this settlement, because it's undefendable. And well, we all know that Russia is using this mobile tactic warfare, but Zelensky's regime has a different approach. And well, Ukrainian soldiers are finding out hard way now in this settlement that this approach of Zelensky's regime is totally mistaken and wrong, because they are trying to hold on to settlement that is basically undefendable. It's in open terrain, open field, and there is definitely not that many points when military equipment can be hidden or personnel. When it comes to Urozhaine, by the way, there were some reports that because Ukrainian forces are unable to dig into Staromayorsk, at least for now, Ukrainian soldiers did try to enter Urozhaine from northern and eastern side. They did conduct some local scale offensive, but all these attempts were repelled. Offensive operations were repelled by Russian forces, and Urozhaine, and according to latest news, Urozhaine is still under full, complete Russian control. Overall situation in Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front is still operational pause, despite these local scale skirmishes between the sides. When it comes to Donetsk direction, this morning we had some reports that Russian side began heavy shelling with artillery in direction of Marinka and Krasnogorovka. And there was reports, by the way, Marinka is here. This settlement is Marinka, which is about 90% controlled by Russia, and Krasnogorovka on the northern side of Marinka, which is fully controlled by Ukrainian forces right now. And according to reports that we see this morning, after heavy artillery shelling of Ukrainian positions in these directions, Russian side conducted offensive operation. During the day we will probably learn some more information how this offensive went, and I would not be surprised if close to evening time we will receive reports that Russian forward units managed to enter Krasnogorovka itself, but it's too early to call right now. Some additional news is some additional information is necessary, but still it's operational pause, because we are talking about local scale battles that are not really influencing overall situation on this sector of the front, at least for now. And of course, when it comes to Donetsk direction, Avdiivka is also main hot point, and we did not have any reports that some significant changes have been made on the front, on the battlefield in this area. Avdiivka is still under partial encirclement. of Russian forces. When it comes to Bakhmut direction, well, initiative is in Russian hands, even though on the southern flank of Bakhmut, Ukrainian forces yet again are trying to conduct some local scale offensive or regain initiative, especially in the direction of Klishchevka and Andreevka, these small settlements here. Well, they are not really able to achieve any success. As you can see, Andreevka is just a tiny village, just 1-2 streets, and Klishchevka not much bigger settlement, but whatever the case, Ukrainian forces are unable to regain initiative, at least for now, and I guess without heavy reinforcement, Zelensky's regime won't be able to continue its local scale offensives on the southern flank of Bakhmut. And when it comes to northern flank, initiative is in Russian hands for a long time now, and even though during the previous 24 to 48 hours there were some attempts from Ukrainian side to conduct at least some recon operations, they are failing. And I believe they would not be able to regain initiative in this sector anytime soon or ever. When it comes to northern sectors of the front, from Seversk to Liman and Kupiansk, initiative is in Russian hands, and we are almost on daily basis now receiving information that Russian forces are improving their positions, especially in Kupiansk direction, and which is here, by the way. Well, I find this map really difficult to use. This is northern sectors of the front, but it's hard to read because of these colors that are used. But anyway, this is Kupiansk, by the way, and this area, Russian side has full initiative, full control, operational control over the battlefield, and I guess it's only a matter of time when Russian forces will receive green light to conduct a large-scale offensive in direction of Kupiansk, which is located on Oskol River, if I'm not mistaken, and it's divided on two halves by this river. So this is it for a quick summary. When it comes to northern sectors, initiative is in Russian hands, but yet again nothing is happening that can be called breakthrough for any one side. So let me continue now, and well, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian Foreign Ministry did made a statement about one of the ways how conflict in Ukraine may end, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, to end this conflict, to resolve Ukrainian crisis, Kiev have to stop conducting military operations and terrorist attacks, and the Western elites or Western states have to stop sending weapons to Zelensky's regime. Well, quite logical statement at one hand, but at the same time you'll understand that Washington and London would not stop escalating and would not stop sending not just weapons but also technologies, money, intelligence, information to Zelensky's regime until they are forced to stop. And to force them, Russia needs to achieve decisive victories on the battlefield. And I believe victories will come for Russia. And once situation with the so-called Ukrainian counteroffensive will be resolved, it will not take long, and Russia will probably conduct large-scale offensive operations, I believe, in central and northern sectors of the front line, but we may even see a Russian offensive in the southern sectors. anything is possible, really. But when it comes to Russian counteroffensive, there are one more topic that probably needs to be articulated, which is about mobilization, possible second wave of mobilization in Russia. There are many military experts that are predicting that second wave of mobilization will be conducted in Russia in fairly short time, which is possible. After all, me personally, I was even in spring, during the spring, was predicting that to conduct large-scale offensive, Russian side probably will need second wave of mobilization to call from 3 to 500, at least 3 to 500,000 more reservists. And lately this topic is becoming more and more talked in Russian Telegram pages, in Russian society, and even military experts are talking about it. So maybe we will see second wave of mobilization in the next few weeks time. After all, to conduct large-scale offensive in the spring or in the winter, probably Russian armed forces will need some additional 3 to 500,000 soldiers, probably. But yet again, I'm not military expert, so I may be mistaken. Let's wait and see. So TASS news agency is reporting that White House did ask Congress of US for additional $10 billion to help Ukraine and for some disasters relief. Strangely was this Ukraine and some disaster relief funds have been combined, probably because White House is losing support, or White House policies of this constant money transfers to Zelensky's regime is losing its popularity among even Congress people in US and among lawmakers, and that's why they probably did combine Ukraine and disaster relief. But anyway, we probably do understand that Congress will, of course, authorize yet another aid package for Zelensky's regime, and from this 10 billion, at least half of it probably will eventually end up in accounts of U.S. military-industrial complex and corrupt officials of Ukraine and U.S. As simple as that. Let me continue. Andrea Novosti is reporting that after a grain deal has ended, at least for time being, Zelensky's regime lost almost half of its revenue when it comes to export of grain and some other agricultural produce, which is quite understandable. After all, right now, only way Zelensky and his associates can export agricultural produce is through Western neighbors of Ukraine, through Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and those countries are not really happy about it. We all know this. Time after time, some protest demonstrations are taking place in Eastern European states, exactly because of this flooding of European markets with the cheap agriculture, and not always high quality agricultural produce from Ukraine. But yet again, I guess that's surprise that European farmers and European economies are paying for actions of the elites and the governments that are continuing to support regime in Kiev. And by the way, let me check how long is this video. 24 minutes. So I will go through at least a few more headlines. RIA Novosti is reporting that Nuland spoke about her visit in Niger and her talks with some military leaders in that state. And as I understand, the top commander of junta, or top commander of current regime in Niger, did not spend time to talk to Nuland, which is a great decision, I believe. And Nuland has a reputation, isn't it? And she is, by the way, high-ranking U.S. official, deputy of head of U.S. State Department, and whenever she is visiting, get ready, one country or another, locals should get ready for some trouble. And maybe Niger will not be able to avoid military intervention from number of African countries that are under direct or indirect control of US and France. That will be, of course, devastating development. But yet again, let's wait and see. Maybe African nations will find a way to avoid military confrontation, which may involve in this conflict entire region, entire Western Africa and even Northern Africa, by the way, because as I said in yesterday's update, if I'm not mistaken, Algeria, for example, is fully in support of current leadership of Niger. And Algeria is one of the major players in Central and Northern Africa. Burkina Faso is also in support of Niger's current leadership, and many other states also, Mali and so on. So let's hope African states will manage to resolve all the issues with some peaceful negotiations without any extreme steps. But because of involvement of US and France, chances that there will be no military confrontation in that region is quite low, unfortunately. Let's continue. And Russia, RT is reporting, by the way, that Russia canceled tax agreements with 38 Western countries, not just Western countries, but countries that are in Russia are in the list of unfriendly states, unfriendly to Russia states. And we already had some reactions on this decision. Japan, for example, is not very happy about it because of Japanese involvement in some Russian energy projects. But maybe not just because of that significant dependence of Japan on Russian energy. But yet again, that surprised that economies of unfriendly to Russia states have to pay for actions that their governments are taking. Moscow is only responding, isn't it? Moscow is always responding, and I cannot remember instances when it was Moscow that was initiating escalation or further escalation. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that according to latest data, 13 salvos, I believe that's how it called, from 16 or 13 elevators from 16 was destroyed during the huge explosion in Turkey's one of the in port of Derince in Turkey, in Marmaris Sea. And by the way, for this moment, I did share some information about this on my Telegram during the previous days. And what is interesting, that grain in these elevators were from Ukraine, and even though investigation didn't conclude anything yet, there are some speculation on internet that this was probably a sabotage on these elevators. But yet again, if it's the case, then who was behind this sabotage? Grain was from Ukraine, so with grain maybe some explosive materials were delivered to this elevator, to this port. Who knows? Who knows? But for now, officially at least, Turkish side is trying to avoid any talks about sabotage. Let's see how will situation evolve. But fact itself, of course, interesting, because this port and this elevator was actively involved in a grain deal, as I understand, and they still have Ukrainian grain, had Ukrainian grain. Let me continue. And how long is this video? Oh, 31 minutes. So this news, and I will end here, and the rest of the news that will be reported by Russian media, and I have chosen to share with you. I will report about those informations in my second update later on in the evening. And this news, last news for this update, is that according to RIA Novosti, leaders of 23 states worldwide officially declare their interest to join BRICS, which is well, once again highlights how important development of this multipolar world is, and how important BRICS, this organization, is becoming worldwide. Unfortunately, not all countries that are applying to join BRICS can be received in this organization because of some standards that they have to apply when it comes to economical situation in those countries. But I'm quite sure at least a couple of states from these 23 are in good enough economical position to become a member of BRICS. And eventually, I guess it's inevitable that BRICS will become BRICS will involve more and more countries. So this is it for now. I hope you will find this update interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topics you like. More likes and comments definitely help to reach wider audience and avoid these barriers that YouTube algorithm is creating. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, in which, by the way, I'm on regular basis making some extra content. You will see links under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care. See you in second update for day.